know the CIA conducts the flow for these young hustlers that lust for dough.
All right. Chair members, good to be with you here. I've been observing the panel pretty closely all this time. The main reason for this really, I mean, if you look at the last decade, government intelligence, bad intelligence, things like that have really dominated our entire society. And from, you know, the war in Iraq or this sort of years-long paranoia around things like the RNC, it's a very dominant thing that goes on. And so basically, I work as a reporter at Politics in Minnesota. I do a lot of computer work and that kind of thing. I'm a volunteer at Indie Media. I'm just seeing a lot of intelligence-related insanity firsthand. It really keeps getting worse, and it really terrifies me that the system is letting all of us down while everything is falling apart economically. There's a huge, complicated crime wave going on that's smashing the good people of Minnesota, and it's out of control. And I mean, basically, you know, the police are, you know, going around. They're spending money on operations to try to collect intelligence and information, run prosecutions and that kind of thing. But there's a huge array of criminal finance operations that are happening. They're just blowing Minnesota and all of America to pieces. And another thing too that's a real problem is that these, you know, kind of unregulated joint federal state authorities, which the panel hasn't really addressed, the way that they're basically configured under secret memoranda of understanding and then secret operations manuals that defendants are not able to see in court. This joint system of groups with really hazy lines of authority is a fundamental design philosophy similar to, you know, authoritarian communist type systems, because there's not direct authority, it's separation of powers and checks and balances. It doesn't work, you know? And another thing too is that a lot of these systems violate viewpoint neutrality because they have teams that are dedicated to crushing certain ideologies instead of solving crimes. And if they were solving crimes instead of focused on certain ideologies, that would be a much better thing to prevent crimes and solve them. And so this system has never been reformed. It's just sort of evolved in the 90s, and it's not under control at all. And so I also want to say, you know, a lot of it has to do with gang databases and how you list people as gang and criteria and stuff. I just think the concept of gangs is very obsolete. I mean, there are people that link together to run criminal operations, right? But this idea of the gangs is the same as like the War of the Roses in the 1400s, like red, you know, white flower symbols. What you need to do is replace the concept of gangs. And people on the panel have told me that they'd be open to this idea, canceling the concept of gangs and replacing it with an idea called primary loyalty groups. And I'm telling you, the most dangerous primary loyalty group in the state of Minnesota is the criminal banker syndicate, which I think we all know it when we see it, you know. This huge array, there's thousands of operatives, powerful people, you know, judges, lawyers, all kinds of people that commit tons of fraud and misrepresentation. And you know, they're very protected. And I think law enforcement, when I talk to police and people, they don't even understand the full context of what's going on. They don't understand how things like fraudulently conveyed mortgages actually, you know, function. They say, oh, I'm like, well, how can you evict this person? This mortgage was fraudulently induced. And they say, oh, that's the FBI's problem. But the problem is that the FBI doesn't have the resources to do the white-collar crime work to deal with the wave of mortgage fraud. I mean, you know, basically, like, sorry, but Joseph Stiglitz says the economy is not going to get better until bankers go to jail. Okay, you can't just keep giving parking fines and saying, oh, you know, you got caught doing something, a little fine, nobody's going to jail. And the feds can't seem to execute the process of actually putting financial crimes in jail. And so regulators have no context to work with, they have no political cover. That's the way the criminal bankers want it. And so, you know, basically, I mean, what you need to do, let me suggest, this is my big policy suggestion. It's kind of modeled on the Campaign Finance Board, called the Words, Terrorism, and Finance Panel, or the WTF panel, where all citizens are recognized as members to collect everybody's views. Everyone can anonymously submit information about what they know is going on. And then in that way we can deconstruct how really bad and dangerous words and concepts like critical infrastructure, radicalization, and things like that are very badly designed, how terrorism situations oftentimes arise from corporate operations and the joint terrorism task forces, as we saw in Portland recently, and how the criminal operatives are really destroying Minnesota. And let me tell you one other thing really quick. The most advanced criminal thing that's going on in the state of Minnesota, I believe, is the system inside the Federal Reserve Bank that executes money transfers. Because that system is the system which the criminal bankers depend upon to launder huge sums of drug money. And we know that the United Nations Office of Drug Control Policy stated that hundreds of millions of dollars in September of 2008 were brought into the financial system because it was about to collapse. And they reported this to the public that this happened. And there have been stories in like the New York Times and things like that, that investigators cannot see into the Federal Reserve's money transfer system. They cannot see into it at all. And I've asked people here, like, how does the money move between the banks? Can you see that? And nobody has that information. So if you break that down, like, I think that would make a huge difference. And bringing it all out really quick, could redirect law enforcement resources from passive people like political activists that really can't cause nearly as much economic damage as even a single fraudulent mortgage. So, thank you very much. So, any questions? I work really hard. I'm obsessed with financial crimes and like illegal government operations and the way that this embedded structures hide criminal operations.
We feel your passion.
Yeah. So,
Questions?
Does anybody want to take on the criminal bankers? I mean, next they're coming for your pension funds. That's the thing. Like the pension funds are next after they're finished abusing the people that you think of as being discredited. Like that's what's going to happen next. I'm totally serious.
Now you're scaring all us old people.
Exactly. That's like I find the hook somewhere. It's a huge tidal wave problem. The money is going to keep moving through the banking system year after year. The money keeps getting laundered, and nobody is directly responsible. And if everybody could see it and bring it out, then you could actually scare the criminal bankers away from the state of Minnesota, and then our economy would get better. It'd be awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody?
Okay.
Questions?
Nope, I didn't see any. So.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Lester has not had a chance to introduce himself.
Lester Collins, Council Black Associates.
Yeah.
I don't take a chance to say it as sporadic or whatever his statements in general may have been. I guess that's the way we were supposed to, obviously proceed. I think there's probably more truth to what he's pointing to or saying than we would want to give credit to. So that's all.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, remember people had an opportunity to sign up today. So after Mr. Fight, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more people signed up.
3 more.
Oh, you got 3 more? Okay. So the next person is Melissa Hill. Thanks, guys.